What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. I have Kendra Landis with us. She is team lead of the Landis hometown team at Key Realty. Kendra, thanks so much for taking your time out of your day to jump on here and to chat with me and share your real estate journey.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's dive right into it. So I always love just starting from the beginning, with agents and other real estate professionals that come on here, because I always find that typically there's something that usually happens, whether it's growing up or, college years or things along those lines that really impact and influence kind of your real estate business. What was life like growing up?
Yeah. So growing up, I was always very interested in helping other people. So, throughout high school and even really before high school, I was always, the teacher's aide and helping out any way I could with that and involved in a lot of different groups, in high school. A lot of different clubs and organizations like Leo Club, which was one that kind of spins off of the Lions Club, yearbook, lots of different extracurriculars like that. And then once I graduated from high school, I actually went to college to be a teacher, went in for education, ended up teaching a couple years in preschool and really loved the kids. But then went through the process of buying my first house when I turned 20 and just kind of going through that process and seeing the different programs that were out there and kind of the lack of knowledge with some of that stuff. It really made me want to get into real estate and help other people, specifically first-time home buyers, kind of going through that process to make sure they're getting, down payment assistance or different grants or things like that are available that just aren't super well known.
Yeah, no, it's so funny. And we'll dive into it in a little bit, but I wonder what the percentage of people that are real estate agents now, the cause of them getting into the business is because of their own experience that they went through. I wonder what that percentage is. And we can talk about that. I wanted to back up though, because you mentioned that you always wanted to kind of serve and serve others. Was that something like your family did, or is that just something that you just naturally went to?
Just natural. I grew up with a lot of siblings, so I'm sure that was part of it. I'm the oldest child, in a big family. So I was always kind of helping take care of my siblings. And then just, those different personality charts or different, personality quizzes that you do. Mine has always been, wanting to please others and take care of others first. So just, I guess I was born with it. I don't know.
And what made you want to go and do all the other groups? Because that was not me.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that may have impacted or played into your real estate business once you got into it.
Yeah, I think just, a lot of them, I wasn't obviously in every group and I wasn't in a lot of sports. So some of the groups like Yearbook and Leo Club and FCCLA, those were just things that were more community driven and, a way that I could connect and be involved in things without necessarily having to be athletic. So.
No, that's awesome. So that you graduate high school and you get your teaching degree?
Yes. Yep. Okay. I went to Ohio University. Got a degree in child development, taught preschool in my hometown of Baltimore for a couple years at the preschool there, the local preschool. And I really enjoyed it. I definitely still miss the kids, but now from when I taught, they're all now like going into middle school and high school. So, seeing them with it being a small town, I still get to see them and their families a lot. And I've had plenty of students that, their parents have been clients of mine now. So just seeing them grow up and it's amazing how fast it goes by for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. And so through that process, you ended up buying your first home?
Yes.
And that was what made you decide that real estate was the next step for you at that point?
So initially, I would say it was something I had a full-time job. So it was kind of like I could do this on the side and, maybe it would give me money. I could go on a vacation, that kind of thing. And it just every year, it snowballed. Each year it grew so much that after a couple years, I had to go full-time just because it was too much to manage with teaching and everything too. Just to be able to better serve the clients, I had to go to full-time so I could be available more to, do the showings and all that kind of stuff.
And it wasn't necessarily someone telling you that, you should get into real estate. It was just your experience that you personally went through, and you just figured that there could be a better way, or was it a great experience? You're like, oh, I could do that.
It wasn't necessarily a bad experience, but it also wasn't a great experience. My mom actually helped me a lot. She had gone through the USDA, which is a rural development program, very common in our area. She had gone through that and another local program that helped with some repairs when she had purchased her home. So she kind of guided me more so than the agent that I used, which again, not that she did anything wrong or anything, but
Yeah.
it was my mom's knowledge from going through it before and using these programs where even the agent wasn't super familiar with them. So just, being able to, again, kind of advocate for first time home buyers and be able to show them that there are so many options out there. And, even at that point, rent was more than I could buy a house for. So it was like a no brainer where it's kind of like just getting people to open their eyes to where they can see like, okay, rent is here, a mortgage is here. If I can take advantage of a down payment assistance or, different programs, maybe I can just purchase a home and, really save money by buying instead of renting.
I'm sure too, with you just coming out of college and kind of going through that process and teaching, your sphere of influence was right there, same path as you, right? First time home buyer. And what
Right.
year was that when you're talking for grants and things like that? What year was it?
So I graduated high school in 2010. So it was right around 2012
Okay.
when I purchased my home. And then, yes, definitely my sphere of influence. I know we'll probably get a little deeper into that in a little bit, but yes, my sphere of influence, timing wise, once I bought my first home, got into real estate. Luckily, it gave me a couple years to get experience, get some deals under my belt, learn a little bit more about real estate in general and, how to write a solid contract and that kind of thing. So by that point, a lot of people I graduated with, or maybe not even in my class, but, people that were
Sure.
in the school with me, with it being a small school. I mean, I graduated with a class of 115. So it's more so like, the whole high school, we all knew each other versus just one grade or something like that. So
Right.
a lot of people I went to school with, I've helped buy a home. And at this point, so I've been licensed a little over 8 years now. At this point, I've had several people even come back to me. We've sold their first house that they purchased and they've now purchased a bigger home because they've, started a family and got a better job since then and things like that. So that's really cool. And that's, a really rewarding part of the job to be able to work with someone again and, watch their family grow and watch them grow and be successful and everything.
For sure. For sure. And I wanted to dive into, and yeah, we'll definitely get to your sphere and kind of your beginning years, because I find that the transition for a lot of people or some people going from another career into real estate is a struggle. That can be a grind. And I think a lot of agents that I've interviewed on here have come from other careers. It's most people, it's not like real estate's usually their first career. Some,
Correct.
but I would say the majority of agents come from a different career, right? So, but I'm curious, when you decide to, because I graduated around the same time as you, so I know kind of what the parents and everyone else was kind of thinking at the time for that time of our decade. But when you decided, hey, I'm not going to be a teacher anymore, I'm not going to use my degree, and I want to go into real estate, doubters, supporters, kind of, who did you have in your corner?
Yeah, I would say I didn't necessarily have any doubters. I mean, at least not that I'm aware of. But my family, like I said, I have a lot of younger siblings. I've got, all my family here on my mom's side is here locally in the same town. I'm from a small town. So from high school on, I've always been very involved in the community, supporting whatever events in the community, sponsoring local athletics, the youth teams and things like that. Just last week, my team was out at the high school serving dinner to the football team. So we've always been, my husband and I both are from Baltimore. We've always been very involved in the community. I've volunteered at the food pantry, different things like that. So, just being involved in the community, I think the community was a supporter to some degree. But my family being, close-knit family, they were all very supportive. So off the top of my head, I would say I don't know of any doubters. There very well could be some. There could be still some out there now. I don't know. But
Yeah.
as far as, people that I know and in my circle and things like that, everybody was very supportive. And, like I said, it still kind of was on the same path of being able to help others. And, I definitely initially didn't expect it would grow into a full-time business of what I have today, but that's been another exciting, part of the journey.
Yeah, no, it's just, around that time, it's go to school, use your degree, get a good job. And, I'm always curious of, what makes people in our industry kind of tick, right? Is it like these people, saying that you're not going to make it, or this group of people that are just loving on you, right, and pouring into you. And, I always just find it fascinating, especially again, because a lot of us, it's a different career. We're giving up, a steady paycheck and going into like this unknown, right? I don't know when my next paycheck's going to be. I don't know when that closing's going to happen.
Right.
So let's dive into your first couple years, because you mentioned that you kind of started real estate just kind of on the side, just kind of doing it, maybe help pay with some bills or vacations, just extra, maybe fun money. Can you dive into those first couple years of struggles? What was that transition like? What part of your business did you focus on most?
Yep. So initially, definitely at least the first 2 years, a lot of training, a lot of, going to any training I could find, going to, the local real estate association groups, the Columbus Board of Realtors, all the different, young professionals network, all those different groups, going to those, meeting new agents, making connections with lenders and title companies and all those different things. That's, a huge part of the business for sure. Just connecting with other agents and different things like that. So that was a big part of it, but definitely the training, you come out of classes and you don't even know how to write a contract. That blows my mind to this day. But yeah, a lot of learning goes into it. And then just kind of, trial and error. Some of the classes that I went to when I first got my license, I started at Keller Williams. So they have the bold and different classes like that. So going to those, stepping out of my comfort zone, challenging myself, going through some of the recommendations that they had, reading books, The Miracle Morning, different things like that, to get you motivated and everything. Because again, going into real estate, working for yourself, nobody tells you what to do. Nobody tells you to get up and do your calls and send out the thank you cards and that kind of stuff. So it's very much, relying on yourself for that. But also, again, obviously, like I said, the first year wasn't super successful. Each year it's grown.
And I'm smiling because I think so. I got to early in my career, I got to hear Hal Elrod speak on the Miracle Morning and on that book, and it was either the first or second book that I probably ever read when I got into the business. I got licensed in 2011. And it was the Miracle Morning and the Compound Effect. I don't remember which one I read first or which one I read second, but you're right. I tell people all the time, a lot of people get away. The reason why they get into real estate is because they want to get away from being told what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. But the most successful agents in our business every day wake up and tell themselves what to do, when to do it, and how to do it.
Right.
And you mentioned they don't teach that stuff in class. We don't learn that when we're getting licensed. What made you, I'm assuming your background, right, of being a teacher, but what made you know and think that the education, the training, all that was an important step to your growth as a real estate agent?
Yeah, I would say definitely the education background, and then just with talking to first-time home buyers, and just a lot of them, literally, they just don't know. They don't know that you don't have to call the agent off the sign. They don't know what goes into a contract, or that you should get pre-approved first so you have an idea on a budget. There's just so many unknowns that we go through. And, as agents, to educate them and make it a less stressful experience for the buyer.
Yeah. And did you mainly just focus on building your business through your sphere of influence?
So initially I did do some leads through like Zillow or realtor.com. I don't exactly remember which one. So I had gained some clients through that. Not a ton. A lot of them are not great leads, but some of them through there. And that kind of got me some experience to get some deals under my belt to where I was more confident. But yes, most of it, even to this day, most of it comes from my sphere.
Awesome. And what were some of the I know you said you mentioned you were very heavy into the community doing all those things. What were some of those first couple years like, and when did you really make that decision to switch over and go full time into the business?
Yeah, I would say, oh man, I don't know if there was an exact trigger point. It was just kind of the way the business grew so quickly over the first few years, just knowing that it was time to, I could support my bills and everything with going full time. I had worked, even through high school, I was a lifeguard, things like that. So I had always been putting money into a savings account. So I had some buffer there, which helped versus, like kind of like you mentioned, when people first start, you don't know when your first closing is, you don't know when you're going to get a paycheck. So that unknown is very scary. Where I think I had built up, excuse me, I had built up enough business and knowing that I was consistently having so many closings per year that I didn't need to, rely on a second job anymore.
Yeah. And when did you decide, I guess, because now you have a team and you've been licensed about 8 years. When did you decide, team was the next step for you in your career?
Yeah. So I think the team was probably right around halfway point, right around that 4-year period. I actually had another agent from the area. She had reached out to me, didn't want to necessarily compete against me. So we kind of formed a partnership. That was the first member of the team. And then from there, I just had agents continue to reach out to me. Even to today, I've got a few brand new agents on the team. So that's been a little bit different versus, more of an experienced agent. But with my teaching background again and the education, I just feed off of that. So I really enjoy that. And then the goal, would be just to continue grow the team. I guess I'll take a step back for a second. So with the first member of the team, again, it was kind of, we're from the same town versus competing, partnering together and just taking that to the next level. And then, as it's grown over time, we've had more agents come on. I currently have 5 agents underneath me on my team. One of them is my mom. She just got her license last year. I had my daughter in 2019. I just had a son in 2021 last year. He just turned 1. So my mom got her license last year at the beginning of the year, just kind of in preparation for me having my second child, to make sure if I needed a little bit more time to get back into it, with it being my second kid, she would be able to handle, a lot of the showings and things like that outside of the house, where I could still do the behind the scenes paperwork and everything like that.
No, that's awesome. Talk about dedication, right? Your daughter, right? Hey, I'm gonna go get licensed so that way it can help you out.
Yeah, that's been awesome. Really nice. Like I said, the close knit family and everything, having that support has been great. She's been a bird dog for me, sending clients, even before she was licensed. And now having her on the team and being able to work together and, calling each other so excited when we get somebody in contract and things like that. That's been a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome. So it almost sounds like you weren't a solo agent very long before you decided to take that next step to building a team. And then what most agents, how do I want to say this? I believe in community over competition, right? And usually in a territory, right, most agents would be more ego and, let's not combine forces. You do you, I'm doing me, and the best will win, right? I guess, did you guys know each other beforehand, or did you have a relationship beforehand, or how did that partnership happen? Because like I said, most of the time it's not that, right? It's not like, hey, let's not compete. Let's come together. Most of the time it's, we're going to compete, right?
Yeah, I would say I'm not a majorly competitive person. That's my husband. So I'm the opposite. Again, with being a people pleaser and wanting to help people, wanting to educate people, for me, it was a good opportunity. It wasn't necessarily, worrying about competition and that kind of thing, because even today, honestly, my opinion is there's so much real estate business. There's plenty enough to go around.
Yeah.
There's another agent in the area. People always are like, oh, it's you and her. And I'm like, but there's plenty. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
So, just when she had reached out to me, it was more like, okay, what can we do together to make this a great experience for our clients? What can we do together for the community? Things like that. It was those kind of wheels were turning versus, even thinking about, oh, am I going to be losing? Is this a competition kind of thing? So I would just say that's not necessarily something that probably even crossed my mind. It was just, a way to work together and do better for other people.
Now, are you guys a true partnership?
No. So she actually, since then, she's actually gone off on her own and she has her own team now.
Okay.
So kind of with that teaching background that I had mentioned, my goal currently is more to like be a mentor necessarily versus a team. It's more bringing on these newer agents, mentoring them for a couple years, getting them to where they're confident and successful, and then encouraging them to go off on their own to where they can obviously make more money and be more successful.
Yeah.
So again, it's not, I'm not, on a crazy split or anything like that. And I've, meeting with agents who want to be on the team and stuff like that. They're like, oh, wow, that's what you offer. And it's like, yeah, because I'm not here. I'm not just trying to pull a bunch of people on my team and just take all their money.
Right.
I want it to be a partnership. I want it to be fun. I want it to be something exciting. And I want to help you build your business so you can move on and help other people.
Yeah. Yeah. I found over the years, I like real estate. I love what it can do for our buyer clients, our seller clients. But I found over the last 10, 11 years of me being in this business, I absolutely love helping new people get into this business and finding that mentorship, rule. And, I find that it's like us, it's one of two things. Either they didn't have it, so that's why they like to give it. Or in my case, I had it. And I knew that my experience isn't what most experience when they get into this business.
Okay.
So I love to hear other people just wanting to community over competition, right? Let's just get together. Yeah. Come on my team. I'll show you the right way. I'll show you the right, systems and tools and process and all those things. Then you just take it and run with it when you're ready.
Yeah. And the nice thing too, a lot of my team members now, which this is kind of like, okay, maybe I should turn this into my next strategy, but we're more spread out. So versus all of us being in the same community, I have a girl up in Utica, I have a girl in Bremen, Lancaster. So we're a little bit more spread out over different areas where we can, help out. Okay, if somebody has a showing and they don't necessarily want to drive to Utica, Jordan's up there, she'll help out. So things like that, that's been really helpful as well.
As a team lead and a mentor like that, how do you navigate those waters of being in different markets, right? I mean, Utica is different than, Baltimore and, all of those things. How do you navigate the mentorship side of that, getting them going, right? Getting them up and running?
So the biggest thing I would say is just kind of looking at my model and what I do in Baltimore and what I do for my community and the different, social media posts and different things like that. And just being able to take that package and then, expand it, recreate it for these different areas.
No, I love that because I was hoping that you would say something along those lines because I always tell team leads, and I think this is for anything. You can build your business anyway. Like we did ours with internet leads, right? You did yours with community in your sphere. There's no right way to do it, but as a team lead, if you're looking to add a second person, a third person, and this is whether it's your market or not your market, build your team to work like a franchise, right? Here's the process, here's the systems, here's the tools, because real estate's real estate. You can take it, you can package it up and drop it wherever you want, no matter where you're at in the country. And it's still going to work. You might have to tweak, some language and, how you write offers and things like that. But as far as marketing and CRMs and strategies and social media and all of those things, it doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah. Well, and luckily, the areas that we're in are pretty central Ohio. So it's the Columbus MLS. We don't typically, we'll have a few here and there that are just outside of it that, it's not a huge deal. But yeah, as far as the area goes.
But even struggling with not even having maybe a physical office space that they all want to come to, right? And navigating those conversations and keeping them on task and motivated and checking in on them is next level when it comes to taking, especially if it's a newer agent, and getting them up and running.
Yeah. And we do some, group setting things just because with them, they all are similar in when they got their license, so I think they're experiencing similar things. So that helps a lot. But I also do more one-on-one where it's okay, what specific things are you dealing with? What specific questions? So nice thing about that is, we can go meet at the coffee shop, or, we can do a Zoom video or different things like that with technology nowadays. So it's not an inconvenience to anyone.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So you're building the team. What's the next goal for the next 12 months? What's a big accomplishment that you're looking to do?
Well, I'm due with baby number 3 in January, so that's
congratulations.
a little a goal, I guess. Halfway today, actually. So we find out this week if it's a boy or girl.
No, that's awesome.
Very excited about that.
Any preference?
No preference. I think it's a girl, but we already have one of each, so it's not, not a deal breaker by any means.
No, that's awesome.
So other than that, obviously keep growing the team, the agents that are on the team, help them be successful. They're all still new enough that they probably won't be ready within the next 12 months to go off on their own, but just building their success and, helping them through all the different things we get to navigate in this lovely industry. But other than that,
they came in at a very interesting time.
For sure. Yeah. And that's what I try to remind them, this isn't necessarily, a normal market. Exactly. It may be the new normal. I don't know that yet, but from when I started, or even a few years ago, it just seems like definitely, pretty much since COVID, it's just been off the charts. I remember when I first started, it was like, oh, you want to see a house? Okay, let's schedule it for this day and time. And everything's great. And now it's like, you see that listing pop up. If you're not there tonight, it's going to be gone.
Yeah. So. It's interesting because I was listening to a training last week, and it makes total sense. But I guess, sometimes you're listening to things and it's like hit you right in the forehead. I mean, even since I've been in the business in 2011, I've only known a market that's been moving up. Right. Like I personally, in the last 11 years, haven't experienced even a down or, and I don't consider this to be a dip, but, I haven't really experienced anything else other than the market getting better.
Yeah.
But what I do know is when I got in 2011, just learning how to navigate the foreclosures and the short sales and, and it has done wonders for me as far as being open to doing real estate different ways. And even like right now, like before it was sign the yard, sold in 24 hours. Right. And now it's like, hey, you might have to start dialing in how you handle pictures and how you do coming soons and how you do open houses and what's your marketing strategy and pricing, right? Pricing is a strategy, right? How to it's not just pick a price and it's going to sell for 20 grand more. Right. And all of that matters. And, I stole this term, but I heard it from my coach who got it from someone else. But, I think this summer, we were saying the summer of skill, this is a time to really dial in the fundamentals, the skills that it needs to be that expert, real estate agent or that expert advisor.
Yeah.
What's an accomplishment that you're looking to do in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years. I don't know that I have any big goals. Like I definitely don't want to be a broker. That's been something my husband has mentioned before. I don't want to be that level of responsibility. I enjoy having the team and, caring for them and, guiding them. But as far as a broker, I wouldn't want to do that. So I would say just continuing to, grow my business each year, myself, as well as the team. Each year, the sales have increased, the sales volume has increased. So, I can't ask for anything better than that. And then just, growing the team, keeping that great atmosphere, among the team members, and then continuing to be involved in the community, and then, continuing to grow my family. We're shooting for 5. So,
oh, wow.
We'll see, every couple of years. That's kind of our goal. We're having baby number 3 in January. So over the next 5 years, I guess we'll make it or not.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. What do you think you'll need to do or put in place for your business in order to kind of stay on that, upward trajectory?
Yeah. So I would say one thing that I'm trying to encourage my team as well as myself is just to get into a little bit more of new builds. We've gone met with a few different builders in the area. We don't have necessarily that huge, list of people who are building. So I know there are several agents who really succeed with that. And it's like almost like a second income stream. So I'd love to see myself and my team just get more involved with new builds and being able to have that in our tool belt, to be able to increase sales price, volume, that kind of stuff. I know some of the builders even give away like a vacation if you sell, a certain number of homes with them. So things like that are really cool. And I think would be an incentive for the team, and just, trying to use that, like the 12-week year is a book that I read too. And I've done some challenges with the team with that, and, just little things like that that can encourage them and motivate them on a smaller scale.
Are you big on reading?
Kind of, not crazy, but, I would say I don't necessarily read for pleasure as far as,
right.
fiction. I'm reading real estate books. But.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think you're right. I think, I guess my other question is, are you on the Builder to Realtor Facebook group?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, anytime you get one of the new agents, get them on there. But honestly, partly why I created that was because I didn't have new builds as a piece of my business. And I just got frustrated with trying to, one, it not being a piece of my business, two, having to Google where communities were. I felt as if I was my own client, trying to find all of this stuff, and then, really track down what reps and what community and what builders in this, school district or yada, yada, yada. But,
right.
The one thing that I love about our market and our builders, and the majority of the builders, where it's not the case in other markets, is the ability for that they allow us to market their product. And I tell agents all the time, you can either increase your income one of a few ways, right? We can charge more commission. We can have a higher sales price. We can charge transaction fees, whatever the case may be. But this is a way with new builds and new construction to be pretty intentional with your marketing and who you want to work with. I don't want to work in Grove City. I live in Pataskala. Our office is in Westerville, but I could market Westerville, New Albany, Sunbury, right? Pataskala, Johnstown, all of the other areas if I wanted to focus on that. And that's my lead generation magnet. So I think the new construction community for us is awesome in Central Ohio because of that opportunity.
They're beautiful homes. I mean, who wouldn't want to buy one of them,
Yeah. Well, and it solves the problem that the majority of agents have. And the majority of agents have is we don't have listings, right? We don't have consistent listings. And what the new build and the marketing can provide is the optics that we have listings, right? Because it doesn't necessarily have to show up on the MLS. Social media is a way for you to market those, right? And it looks like you have those. Now, you can't say this is my listing and all those other things, but by you just posting about those, like that's the way to generate the buy side business, right? And then depending on the price point, being strategic and intentional, if it's a $500,000 listing, well, guess what? They're probably selling, right? So now you're going to be getting a seller and a buy side deal. So that's awesome that you're kind of diving into that.
Yeah, I think that's what I tell, with the team members too. It's, posting about your success, like not to be conceited or anything like that, but promote yourself. People they see that and they want to work with you. They want to work with someone successful. All the time, I'll run into someone at the store in town or at the farmer's market or whatever. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're doing so great this year. Like all I see is you're posting all these, you've sold all these houses and all this stuff. And it's like, people enjoy that. They are happy that I'm successful. They want to work with someone successful. So, encouraging the team. Sometimes they're like, well, I feel like a salesperson. I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to sell myself. And I'm like, but you're not. You're just promoting, hey, look, I did this. Like, that's so cool. People want to encourage you. They want to clap for you. They want to be there. They want to be part of it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I got one question that's not on here, so this may throw you for a loop. But I thought this question was interesting when it was first asked to me by Mike Doyle, who's a good friend of mine. and a fellow real estate agent. But he was reading a book. I can't remember what it was. But
I have to think of it and send it to me.
But the question was, a lot of times we're asked 1-year goal, 5-year goal, 10-year goal, 15-year goal, whatever. What's your 100-year goal? What's your legacy? What's your legacy goal? That's how I will phrase it. What's the legacy goal?
That is a great question. I would say, for me, it's more about building something for my family. That's something my husband and I talk about a lot. He has a lot of his own businesses too. But also just, I guess, working with my family too. So my mom is licensed. We worked together, for the last year. And then my sister, she'll be turning 18 next year. So she, her plan is she's going to get licensed and join the team too. So being able to work together with both of them, I think is going to be really fun and really cool. But as far as a legacy goal, I would say that's a great question. That's definitely something to think about.
I've been meaning to put it onto my
yeah, no, that's,
but it's one of those ones where it's like, man, like we talk about it, but we don't really like in depth think about, what do we want our name to be, or what's that legacy that we want to leave behind?
Right. I mean, I don't necessarily think I'm going to be selling houses when I'm 130, so that'll be interesting. But I would say, longer term goals is kind of more putting my money in other places. So like, I have a couple rentals, things like that. I'm very interested in like the Airbnb side of things and, like having a vacation rental, stuff like that. But I love real estate, personally and professionally. So having rentals and, all that kind of stuff, although sometimes it's not so glamorous. It's been a lot of fun and I enjoy that side of things too. So my husband, he's kind of getting into developing a little bit. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays into, my business. But we're building a house for my mom right now on our property. So she'll be closer to us and the kids.
Nice.
And, going through that experience with him, getting the permits, getting everything lined up. He's GC'd it himself. So that's been really cool to, go through with him, and maybe that'll take off somewhere. I don't know. But I would say, looking back at the new builds, I've had quite a few people do more of the on your own lot construction versus, the community existing home kind of thing that's going on right now, which is pretty cool. But so, just, I guess, looking into those different avenues and potentially, my brother-in-law right now is living in Michigan. So I've thought about getting my license there, or, different things like that. Maybe for Florida might be a better location to get a second license in versus Michigan. But, maybe expanding, getting licensed in another state and kind of building a team here and there and having that, 2 different locations could be cool. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. I knew
I'll keep you updated.
I knew I threw you for a curveball on that one. No, Kendra, thank you so much for coming on. I always like to end with this last question. If you could give one piece of advice, to any real estate agent out there, whether they're just getting into the business or, in the business now, what would that be?
So I would say one thing I would recommend is just kind of, building your database. That's one thing, as a new agent, I wish I would have started right away versus learning about it later and then kind of having to go backtrack and rebuild it. So building a database, really working your database, kind of going back to that sphere of influence. But even if it's not your sphere of influence, you can still have a database of other leads from other sources too. But just working them, staying in contact with them, whether that's a monthly newsletter or a birthday card. I do a lot of things with my sphere and people, past clients, even if they're a past client from when I first got licensed, we do a client appreciation event once a year. They all get invited. Like I've had people call me and they're like, oh, well, I haven't bought a house from you since way back then. Like, it doesn't matter. You're my client. Like, you're my client for life. Come have a good time. So we do, the client appreciation once a year, birthday cards. If they send us a referral, they get a thank you card. I would say for me personally, I don't necessarily get a bunch of birthday cards in the mail. So I think sending somebody a birthday card says a lot. And I think it's meaningful to them. I get a lot of, text messages like, hey, thanks so much. I got your card. And it's like, just doing something, even if it's something as simple as a card, what does that cost? 40 cents to mail it, but it's going to make a huge impact on people and they're going to remember you. And it's like, hey, I haven't bought a house from her since 5 years ago, but she still sends me a birthday card on my birthday. Like, who are they going to use when they go to sell their house?
Yeah.
So just having that database, whatever that looks like for you, and just continuing to keep up with them and take good care of them, even if they haven't bought a house from you this year. They're going to, even if they're not going to ever buy or sell again, who knows? Maybe they built their dream house with you and they're not ever moving again. They still are going to meet other people who are going to be moving.
100%. I that concept of, I actually got it from the multi-level networking space, right? The idea is, I don't want to necessarily recruit you. Like, I want you to come with me, but I really want your database, right? Who's your sphere? And I always tell our agents all the time, you just never know who you're going to run into. They may never buy a house through you, or they may, but they may refer you 10 people.
Right.
So that's spot on. Building the database. And I think the more important part there is the past client side. What are those touch points for your sphere or your past clients?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, it's unfortunate, but a lot of people, it's like, oh, they bought a house for me. That's awesome. Here's your closing gift. And then it's like, they're not.
Me. That was me. I tell agents all the time, don't do what I did, and I was the transaction treadmill, so to speak, and I had the front end database side down. I didn't do anything after the fact, and how much money that, I've probably missed out on clients could have been able to help a second, third time. And, this is embarrassing to say, but I had a past client that bought through me. When they went to go sell their house, they relisted it with someone else, and I brought my new buyer to that house and they bought it.
Yeah. So, like, oh, hey.
So it's not just the front end database. Make sure you take care of that back end past client database as well.
Right. Well, and honestly, it saves you a lot of work. Like you kind of mentioned, you're on that treadmill transaction. If somebody's worked with you, I'm sure they'd love to work with you again if you stay in contact with them. And if they refer someone to you, that person most likely isn't going to be interviewing 10 other agents. They're just going to go with you because their friend trusts you and they recommended you.
Right.
So, it's not that obviously I'm fine with putting in the work, but it's like, if you have that drip, basically, you have that flow, why stop it? So.
Yeah, no, 100%. Kendra, thanks so much for coming on and spending an hour of your time with me and sharing your journey. Those that are watching, you guys can see at the bottom of the screen, connect with her on Instagram and Facebook. But Kendra, for those that are listening in, what's the handle for you on your social media?
At Agent Kendra. That's where you'll find me on Instagram and on Facebook. So
awesome. Well, Kendra, thanks so much. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story, and we'll connect again soon.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for thinking of me and having me. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. And I hope you maybe picked up one little tidbit of nugget of information that you can use in your business. So
yes. No, thanks so much. If you guys are looking to buy or sell, and you want to work with Kendra, make sure you reach out to her. If you guys are a real estate agent and you just, connected with her and resonated with her story, please reach out to her. She's going to help you with getting your business set up and running. So Kendra, thanks again. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.